Hi guys, I'm back again today with another video, and today we're checking out Europe banned this American foods, and here's why. So before we start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and let's get it.
Honey Bunches of Oats is my favorite cereal of all time. I even said so in my British versus American cereal tier list video I made somewhere above the screen. But did you know, it's actually banned for sale in the UK because of its carcinogenic additives? This is how I pour milk. It's real good though. So today we're gonna be looking at a lot of foods that are enjoyed in the States but are outright banned in the UK and EU for various reasons. And in a couple weeks, I'm gonna be doing a part 2 to this where we look at the vice versa there, the EU foods that are banned in the US. So be sure to subscribe, okay? It'll be coming soon. Or ring my bell. Actually, speaking of bells, cowbells. The first item on our list today is milk, or rather what they put into milk in the US. Recombinant somatotropin, RBST, also previously used to be called bovine growth hormone, is a genetically engineered hormone injected into dairy cows to increase the means of milk production. Now, if you are an American, I'm assuming you've heard of bovine growth hormone at some point in your life. I know growing up, my mom would tell me that girls were getting to puberty earlier and earlier because of all the hormones that they're pumping into the cows, which is coming out in the milk. Now, that actually was fully a myth, and there's no science to substantiate that. And in fact, the RBST that is put into cows, in American cows at least, has no scientific backing to prove that it has any negative repercussions on humans at all. However, that didn't stop the EU and UK following up with banning its sale of milk from RBST cows anywhere within their bounds because of the effect it has on the cows themselves. EU commissions that did studies on RBST in cows found that the quality of life of cows given the hormone was drastically worse than cows that were not. If you think about it, their udders are just getting so much more full than they're meant to, weighing them down, being uncomfortable. It is a bit of a contentious issue, especially with the whole got milk lobby in the States really trying to push its way into EU markets, but the EU being very firm. There are some reports in the 90s that were purporting this to just be a complete trade war economic type of thing, and that the EU made things up. But at the end of the day, the US's FDA, or Food and Drug Administration, have stated that food products made from RBST treated cows are safe for human consumption, and no statistically significant difference exists between milk derived from RBST treated cows and non. And there's yet to be a conclusive study disproving that. Now, despite this being a worse experience for the cows in the States that are given this hormone, you might be wondering, well, why do they do it anyway? Well, the answer's kind of easy. The average cow injected with RBST nets the farmer an extra $15.88 in profit. That's per cow. Gotta milk them for all they're worth. No bull. Next up, everybody's favorite gamer soda, Mountain Dew. Everybody knows Mountain Dew, right? It's like the super punchy, citrusy flavored soda that you're probably thinking, wait a minute, that's not banned in the EU. I've seen that. Well, you see, the original recipe for Mountain Dew included BVO, which caused it to be banned by both the EU and Japan because BVO, or brominated vegetable oil, contains bromine. What's wrong with bromine? That's usually what I say when someone tries to take my Mountain Dew. Bro! Well, bromine is an element that, when it builds up in the body, has a very high potential to, I don't know, cause you skin damage, memory loss, nerve damage. That's the main reason why it's banned in Japan and the EU. And so Mountain Dew is like, we'll fix this recipe for you guys since you don't want nerve damage. The thing about BVO is that it was sensationally referred to as the thing that is in brominated flame retardant, just because that really spreads with Facebook moms. You know, like, oh my God, flame retardant in my child's drink? But the main problem that we had in our household with Mountain Dew was any one of us had any Mountain Dew, we would be bouncing off the walls. The amount of sugar and caffeine in that stuff, boom. Sure, large amounts of BVO can cause birth defects in newborns, but when used in a soda, it helps all the oil flavorings not dissolve, so that way they can separate and give you a nice in your mouth. And in your womb, I guess. But if you are an American connoisseur of the Mountain Dew or the fabled Baja Blast, don't worry, it's not in the recipe anymore, so for the most part, you're fine. All I do know is, it's not illegal, and the FDA says it's okay. Now let's just have a look at the Walmart brand Mountain Dew and... Now this next one might ruffle a few feathers, but you might not know this. Chickens in the US are chlorinated. That means they are washed with a chlorine bath to prevent the spread of salmonella and such before you all eat your lovely chicken. Now, this is absolutely banned in the UK, the EU, and many other countries who don't think we should be eating things that have been washed with chlorine. That being said, the main reason isn't probably what you're thinking. It's actually because, according to the EU law, they felt that by just using a quick chlorine bath, it's kind of cutting corners and allowing for farmers to basically not care about their entire production line and just go, we'll fix it in post, essentially. We'll just have really, really dirty, unhealthy, unsanitary farms and then just wash it all away with chlorine. They went, we're not going to allow that. We'd rather you actually have a good, healthy, safety production line rather than just bandage it. I'm sure at this point you've seen those gruesome images of chickens in incredibly small pens with nowhere to go, really dirty living space. Well, the whole point of this law isn't necessarily to protect humans from chlorine, but to make sure that that is much less likely to happen, to have these really unsanitary living spaces for the animals. Whereas in the US, it doesn't really matter how the chickens are raised, how they're stored, how they're butchered. As long as you wash it with a bit of chlorine, everything's kind of okay. I don't really know how I feel about it. Obviously, I've grown up in the States and I've eaten plenty of chicken and I'm totally fine. How would you feel about this? Like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with human health as much as just making sure your production line is up to scratch. Chicken scratch. As a fun fact, a big post-Brexit fear was that because of the supply chain issues that Brexit would cause, the UK would then have to start relying on chlorinated chicken, and a huge amount of people in the UK were very much against this. However, that was one of the very, very, very few Brexit fears that actually didn't come to fruition. So there's that. We do not use chlorinated chicken. It's just everything else that went wrong. Ractopamine. Now, this next one isn't just banned in the UK, the EU, Japan. No, it's actually banned in 160 countries. That's over 3/4 of the known world, as if there's an unknown world. However, the US is standing true, saying, it's totally fine. We're going to put ractopamine in our pork. 40 to 60% of pigs farmed in the US have ractopamine, a drug that enhances the lean muscle mass of the animals. There are definitely some serious questions about the safety of ractopamine, whose only use originally was to treat people with asthma until it was found out that it increased the production of animals that we went, let's just put it in some piggies. The National Pork Producers Council of the States have been lobbying the EU like mad, demanding that all food health and safety concerns be completely dismissed because, well, profits. Those pigs with ractopamine bring home quite the bacon. But the EFSA, or European Food Safety Authority, have said that the use of ractopamine in pigs has a very large chance of creating downer pigs. Downer pigs are essentially pigs that have been engorged with this lean muscle mass to the point where they can no longer even stand. Their point basically meaning that this is incredibly cruel to the pigs. Also, ractopamine has shown to have catastrophic effects on the human cardiovascular system, as well as increase your anxiety levels. Some US pork producers have begun phasing out the use of the drug, but like 160 countries. Like, the US FDA has got to be sitting there like, am I out of touch? No. It's the 160 other countries that are wrong.
Care about
or rather,
we care about money.
well, these pork lobbyists have given me quite a lot of money, so I think it's kind of fine. So we've had milk, we've had chicken, we've had pork. What is next? Bread?
Yes.
All right, get ready for this, because bread sold in the States contains potassium bromate. And listen, it's not your bromate. In fact, potassium bromate is used in the bread making process in the States because it helps bread rise faster, higher, and makes bread manufacturers quite a lot of dough. But it's also heavily linked to cancer, nervous system damage, and kidney damage. In the States, it's in pretty much all foodstuffs. Bagels, bread rolls, breadcrumbs, you name it. While it is completely banned in the UK and EU, in which our bread doesn't taste like sugar. I'm gonna be real sad to find out that the Cheesecake Factory bread has this stuff in it, because that bread, I don't care if you say it's sweet, it's delicious. Now, not all bread products in the States contain potassium bromate. For those products that don't contain it, there are worse things, like something I'm not going to be able to pronounce. For instance, like Pillsbury breadsticks, a lot of the nice little bun things you can get in the freezer aisle at Walmart, like Jimmy Dean sandwiches, breakfast rolls, and such. They contain azodicarbonamide, which is a chemical compound found in yoga mats, as well as shoe soles. Yummy! Makes it extra spongy. The reason why so many US manufacturers use azodicarbonamide is that it makes the bread stuff look a lot whiter. Yeah, both in bread and cereal flour, it's used as a whitening agent and dough conditioner. While the FDA thinks it's totally fine to add this chemical compound to basically any bread product under the sun, it is banned in Europe, Singapore, and many other countries for its heavy link to respiratory problems as well as other health issues. And in Singapore specifically, if you're caught using this substance in any of your manufacturing process, you're jailed for 15 years and a fine of up to $450,000.
Oh, damn, Singapore, stop playing.
I'm sure it's fine. Even Australia, who's usually pretty chill about a lot of things, do not use azote carbonamide.
Australia's not chill about
Finally,
a
we've
lot
gotten
of
to
things.
my favorite cereal. A lot of cereals in the States use BH.
They're chill people, but when it comes to like their food, they're not chill. I mean, like they don't fudge around with chemicals. They're like, nah, bish. We care about our human beings. Yeah, even like not import. Yeah, probably importing also, and like bringing stuff or bringing stuff into the country. They're gonna be like, nah, bish. Where did my knowledge come from of this matter? Border security. That's where they don't allow anything in Australia, apparently.
Which is a flavor enhancer. Now, I've got no problem with most flavor enhancers. Heck, I love me some monosodium glutamate, okay? Throw a little bit of MSG and everything. Mwah! But BHT, well, it's a little different. See, it's put in a lot of these cereals and things to enhance the flavors, and it only comes with mild side effects of decreasing your testosterone count and decreasing the quality of your sperm. But also, there have been numerous studies to prove that BHT is an endocrine disruptor, so it actually has way more effects than that. Is it really making the food taste that much better?
This is used for
me to have less sperm?
Yeah, it's delicious.
This is used for...
Oh no, what's it got in it?
But it does lower your sperm count.
I mean, as a woman...
BHT is used in a lot of these cereals because it just gives you that little bit of a fresh feeling in the box. They actually line the bags with BHT, so it's just a bit fresher for a bit longer. Now, the US FDA has insisted BHT is totally safe in small quantities, but I don't know about you, but growing up in the States, I would eat 3 to 4 bowls of cereal in one sitting sometimes because that was my balanced breakfast, so... I don't know how I feel about that. Now, cereal producer General Mills in the States has agreed to phase out its use of BHT, but Kellogg's and Post in the States have agreed that maybe the pros outweigh the cons, to their profits, I suppose. They don't really see it as a real problem. Now, I remember a couple years back, they had finally brought over Fruit Loops to the UK, and I was like, whoa, finally, we get a cool American cereal. However, this is what it looks like.
Oh.
If you're an American, you're like, what the hell is that? I know. Here's the difference between US and UK Fruit Loops. You see, legally speaking, you can't really sell the American Fruit Loops because it contains so many E numbers, is what they're called over here. I only recently found out about E numbers. My girlfriend brought it up like, oh, that's got a lot of E numbers. And I was like, Evan numbers? No, the E in E numbers actually stands for Europe, and E numbers represent a number for each different food additive that exists. And in the US, we've got E numbers in pretty much everything. Think of all the brightly colored food you know. That's some E numbers right there. In 2007, a UK study found a clear link between the use of specific E numbers and hyperactivity in children. Now, the E numbers that they actually found increased the hyperactivity in children were E102, E110, E122, and E124. All those different food dyes. Now, following these studies, there was huge public outcry in the UK, and in 2009, the UK implemented a temporary ban on the specific E numbers listed in the studies. But by ban, I don't mean that you weren't allowed to sell any products with them. Rather, you could, as long as somewhere on your packaging there was a warning that stated that consumption of this item may have an adverse effect on the activity and attention of children. Now, as you've seen, usually when this type of thing happens, the FDA just digs their heels in, supported by lots of lobbyists' money, and they go, everything's fine, totally fine, don't worry about it. But even in this case, the FDA actually had to come out and be like, well, there is a chance that some children also will develop hivish rashes as a reaction to these E numbers. So it just seems like so many cons for what realistically is just brightly colored cereals. That being said, sometimes the UK recipe of a US product is just awful. I mean, talking about the Fruit Loops, listen, I know it kind of looks like grass, and it's not as appealing as the pretty colors that caused me hyperactivity as a child, but it would be okay if it didn't taste like garbage. It just tasted like cardboard. Kind of ruined the whole appeal of the sugary cereal. I do think it's very important that we're not just pumping our children full of sugar, so in a way I'm thankful, but also as an adult, I'm like, I also want the ability to just kind of have that. We don't ban chocolate cake, but then again, we don't market chocolate cake to children as a breakfast treat. Not even a treat, just a meal. Then again, I grew up believing that donuts are a breakfast food. and I stand by that belief. Certain crumb coffee cakes are also breakfast food in my book, so my brain is a place that's
Anything
so
pastry
confusing.
is
Got
breakfast
warring cultures up there. I mean, the Fruit Loops in the States are flavored with like artificial grape flavors and berry flavors. In the UK, and I'm not kidding here, their Fruit Loops are flavored with nettles and spinach.
Ooh.
I'm sorry. What
Nettles,
child
though.
is gonna be like, things
don't know.
that
They
hurt
don't
me
read it.
unless I have a dock leaf, or spinach. Blech. But research in this video has helped me realize that's why it's so hard to find my second favorite soda, Sunkissed. It's just the specific
I don't
E
think I've
numbers
ever
make it
tried
just
a
not really that
Sun-
profitable to
or
sell over
maybe
here.
I have.
Also, if you are wondering, birch beer. That's my favorite soda. Very hard to get. Pretty much only in the northeast of the US. But it's the best. One final interesting note I found researching this video is that it seems the US's Food and Drug Administration care more about probabilities. How small is the chance that a negative side effect could happen? If small enough, that's okay. Whereas the European agency is more focused on possibilities. If there is any possibility of a negative side effect, especially in
That's
an additive that's
important.
non-essential, they'd rather just have it removed than risk consumer health. And so if you found any of these
Maybe that's why in the Philippines we really like American products because we are the first, right? We are like, it's just a small amount. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, they say, right? So have it. Maybe you'll get immune. Ah.
banned substances to be a bit blown out of proportion, well, you might be looking at it from more of a probability standpoint as opposed to a possibility one. But each agency is doing what they think is best for the citizens they watch over at the end of the day. Whether or not you agree is up to you. But let's just say foods dubiously banned in other countries is your passion. Well, why not tell the world about it by making a blog using today's video sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace, of course, is your all-in-one ticket to an easy-to-build, professional-looking website. Start your shop, make as well as load your very own.
done?
Sign up today using squarespace.com/Evan or use code EvanEdinger at checkout to get 10% off your 1-year plan and a whole month for free. So you might as well just try it out. Give it a shot. Anyway, thank you very much to Squarespace for
that's it.
sponsoring, and let's wrap this up. As much as I loved a lot of the foods that I grew up eating in the States, my view on everything is a bit more nuanced these days. I'm a strong believer in bodily autonomy and that everybody, as an adult, should have the right to put whatever they want into their body. It's your body, do what you want. But when it comes to children, especially because a lot of these items are marketed at children, it gets a bit more dubious. I mean, a parent shouldn't have to religiously research every single item that they're giving to their child to make sure it's not a carcinogen, you know? However, I mean, they should be doing a little research at the end of the day. You should be looking, what am I giving my kid? But the majority of people probably aren't. So it's probably in our best interest to have these laws in place. I don't know.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on this? Thank you very much for watching today's video. Don't forget, there is a part 2 coming in a week or two, so be sure to subscribe. It'll be right here when it's up, if it's not yet.
I can speak for the Filipino family at least, but their concern most of the time is not the contents. It depends what class, right? But we're talking middle to low, yeah. So you get right. So most of the time, the reason why they buy certain products is because, can I afford it? Is it a lot? Can it suffice the entire family for a certain amount of time until we get our next pay? So that is why we are really adopt American products or American type of like marketing, because we like the big stuff, because and then they're cheap. So we are not really necessarily looking at what is in the product. We are mostly saying this is big and it comes at a cheap price, I'm gonna get it for my family. So that is another thing that I noticed by watching this video. I know we are always comparing, most of the time comparing UK, Europe, US, but I also like to interject with how we live here and see the comparison. But most of the time we take the role of US in these circumstances, right? Because we really look up to, I've said this 100 million times, we really look up to the US and we do a lot of things because of the US. So for us, it makes sense that, okay, we're gonna buy like this huge let's say cereal that is gonna last us the whole month, and it's only for like $2 because that's all we can afford, right? So most of the time families here are not necessarily looking at the ingredients, and even if you tell them what the ingredients are, they're gonna be like, I don't know any better, I don't know what this means, right? So it's really crazy. And for a country like ours that don't necessarily care about the people, like the health of the citizens, then they won't care what they're feeding to the mass population. They wouldn't care as long as money is going into the pocket. They're happy. So let me know how your country does things. If you're not in the US or the UK or in Europe, let me know, because I'm intrigued as well. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.